The road from Mpumalanga to Limpopo was a thread of tar stitching together two vastly different worlds. The cool, misty mountains gave way to a dry, fierce heat that shimmered above the asphalt. Baobab trees, ancient and stout, began to dot the landscape, their bare branches reaching for the sky like gnarled fingers. Musa felt the change not just in the air, but in the very rhythm of the land. It was a slower, deeper pulse, a sense of time measured in seasons, not minutes. He arrived in a small town near the Zimbabwe border, a place where the dust seemed to have settled on everything, slowing life to a crawl. The guest house was simple, the air thick with the sweet, cloying scent of mangoes. He spent his first few days trying to connect with the locals, hoping to find another story, another Sani. But his efforts were met with polite, but firm, resistance. He approached a group of men shelling nuts under a marula tree. They smiled, offered him a taste, but when he asked about the stories of the land, they fell silent, their eyes evasive. He tried talking to the men playing a game of murabaraba in the shade of a shop's veranda. They laughed at his attempts to understand the game, but clammed up when he steered the conversation towards history and folklore. "They will not share their stories with a stranger," the guest house owner told him one evening, her voice kind but direct. "Our history is not a commodity for tourists. It is a treasure, and we do not display our treasures to those who do not understand their value." Musa felt a familiar sting of being an outsider, the same feeling he'd had in Johannesburg. Dejected, Musa wandered through the town's market the next day. His eyes were drawn to a stall filled with exquisite wood carvings. There were animals so lifelike they seemed ready to leap off the table, and masks that seemed to hold ancient secrets in their carved expressions. Behind the stall sat an old man, his hands and face a roadmap of wrinkles, his fingers moving with a slow, deliberate grace as he worked a piece of dark, fragrant wood with a small, sharp knife. Musa didn't ask for stories. He simply watched. For hours he stood and observed the old man's patient artistry. He saw the way he chose the wood, turning it over and over, listening to it, it seemed. He saw the way the chips fell away, revealing the shape that was hidden within. The old man occasionally glanced at him, a flicker of curiosity in his dark, intelligent eyes, but said nothing. Finally, as the sun began to dip low, the old man set down his tools. "You have been standing there all day," he said, his voice a low, rumbling bass. "You are either a very patient thief or a very interested young man." Musa smiled. "I'm not a thief," he said, "but I am very interested. Your work is beautiful." The old man grunted, a sound that could have meant anything. "I am Vho-Makhadzi," he said, "and I do not carve beautiful things. I carve true things." He picked up a finished piece, a small, detailed carving of a rhino. "This is not just a rhino. This is the spirit of the rhino. It is the story of the rhino." Musa felt a thrill of hope. "A story?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Vho-Makhadzi looked at him, his gaze sharp. "You are the one who has been asking for stories. The whole town is talking about the stranger who wants to buy our history, but you did not ask me for a story. You watched the work. Why?" "Because," Musa said, choosing his words carefully, "I learned in the mountains that the best stories are not always told with words. Sometimes they are held in the small things, in the way a flower grows, or in the way a man carves a piece of wood." A slow smile spread across Vho-Makhadzi's face, transforming his stern features. "You have learned a wise lesson. Come, sit. I will show you a story that has been carved in wood for generations." He led Musa behind the stall to a collection of larger, older carvings, each one a masterpiece of storytelling. "Long ago," Vho-Makhadzi began, his hand resting on a carving of a great hill, "this land was ruled by a king from a golden throne, not a throne of wood covered in gold leaf, but of solid gold. This was the kingdom of Mapungubwe, the place of jackals. He picked up a carving of a king, his posture regal, a golden scepter in his hand. The king of Mapungubwe was so powerful, his people believed he was a god. He lived on top of a sacred hill, separate from his people. Only his royal court could ascend the hill. Commoners lived in the valley below. This carving shows the people looking up at the hill, their faces filled with awe and reverence. They were master craftsmen, the people of Mapungubwe, Vho-Makhadzi continued, his fingers tracing the lines of another carving. They traded with people from across the seas, from Arabia, from India, even from China. They traded our gold and our ivory for their glass beads and their fine cloth. This carving shows the trade, the meeting of different worlds. He then showed Musa a carving of the famous Golden Rhino, a small but exquisitely detailed piece. This was found in a royal grave. It is a symbol of the king's power and his connection to the spiritual world. The rhino is a powerful animal, a creature of the earth. By crafting it in gold, the king was showing his mastery over both the physical and the spiritual realms. But the kingdom did not last forever, Vho-Makhadzi said, his voice growing somber. He pointed to a carving of a cracked and barren landscape. The climate changed. The rains stopped coming. The land could no longer support the people. The great kingdom of Mapungubwe was abandoned, its people scattered, its golden treasures buried and forgotten for centuries. The story of Mapungubwe is a story of power, of art, of connection to the wider world, Vho-Makhadzi concluded. But it is also a story of humility. It reminds us that we are all subject to the rhythms of the land. We can build great kingdoms, but if we do not listen to the earth, our kingdoms will turn to dust. Musa was silent for a long time, the weight of the story settling over him. He had come to Limpopo looking for folklore, for myths and legends. Instead, he had found history, a real and powerful story of a great African kingdom, told not in a dusty museum, but through the living tradition of a master carver. The next day, Musa traveled to the Mapungubwe World Heritage Site. He stood at the base of the sacred hill, looking up at its flat, imposing summit. There were no crowds here, no tourist chatter. Just the wind whispering through the mopane trees and the immense, silent weight of history. He didn't climb the hill. He felt it would be an intrusion. Instead, he sat in the shade of a shepherd's tree and opened his sketchbook. He didn't draw the hill, the grand monument to a lost kingdom. He drew the small, hardy plants growing at its base, the ones that survived the drought that had brought down a king. He was finally learning how to see.